All right, so welcome to a new video. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about giving your books the best chance possible of becoming a #1 new release. So what I'm going to be doing is talking about the word search that I've been creating at the moment. I'm going to be using some of my older books as examples as well. We're also going to be talking a little bit about the software that I've been using to create this shaped word search as well. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the big case study that I'm creating around this book too. So as per the title of this video, and this is not a bragging point, but around 80% of the new books that I release do at some point become a #1 new release. So that's not to be mistaken for a #1 bestseller. That would be great if 80% of our books could become #1 bestsellers, but that's never going to be the reality for anybody. But when you do become a #1 new release, it is a great indication that you have launched your book well and that your audience is responding to your book well. And also it gives you that little bit more authority when it comes to releasing your book, because you have that little orange badge on your listing during that release period. Okay, so we're going to be talking about what I do in order to get my books that sort of initial boost, to give it that credibility. And if you're in the previous case study, you would have seen that the How to Draw book that we created, that was also at one point a #1 new release. But again, I'll be talking about that case study as I go through this video. So let's just touch upon what I think are going to be the basics when it comes to creating a #1 new release for your book. So what we need to look into, and I talk about this so often on my channel that I'm not going to be talking about it today, but we need to have buyer traffic going to the niche that we're entering. We need to have a great cover. And then we need to have what I'm calling the AA and the OA. So the AA being aggressive ad campaigns, and then the OA being optimizing those ad campaigns. Okay, so we're going to talk more about this in just a second, these types of campaigns. We're going to be using some of my own campaigns as examples as we go to this video. We're going to be using some of my books, my own books, as we go through this video as examples as well. So there's tons of awesome stuff inside this video today. Okay, so the end result, if you get all these factors correct, I think you have a very large chance of giving your book the best possible release. So once you pair the buyer traffic with a great book cover, with correct ad campaigns, and launching your book correctly, you're going to give yourself a very high chance of at some point becoming a #1 new release during that period, which is a great sign that you've done something right and the audience is responding well to your books. So the interesting thing that I'm doing here when it comes to the book that I'm releasing, which is going to be the word search, is that I've decided for this case study, for this book, to go for a word search for kids. Now that niche is incredibly broad. It's incredibly ambitious of me here. You don't have to do things this way, obviously. This is going to be harder for me to get a #1 new release just because the niche is so broad here. But the main thing, and I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but the main thing that we want to touch upon first when it comes to creating a #1 new release is that we need to make sure the niche has got buyer traffic going to it. So just a quick search. And this is something I talk about so many times, so often on my channel, is that you can do a very quick search by using a BSR extension to see, how much sales are going, how much buyer traffic is going to the niche that you're interested in pursuing. All you would need to do is take a look at the front page of the niche that you're interested in selling within, and just check to see how consistently low the BSRs are for that niche. So that's the first factor that you need to look for when it comes to creating a #1 new release. So the second factor here, and we're going to get into the ad campaigns, which is going to be the sort of the main section of this video, but we're going to talk about the book cover and the importance of that as well. So for the book that I'm releasing, it's not been released yet because we're still working on the book cover. Okay, so I can't stress enough the importance of your book cover. So what you're seeing on screen at the moment is the very first variation that we've had of this book cover back. Okay, so I spoke about this in my last video, but I don't want to keep repeating myself. But basically what we're doing is that if we're hiring someone to create our book covers for us, which we probably should be doing if we can't do it ourselves, so what we're doing is we're going over different versions of the book cover. So when they come back to me with a different version of the book cover, I'll come back to them with a mock version of what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm going to say to them, look, this background is a little bit too busy. I don't like the curve of the word shape, the word search text at the top here. I'm going to come back with them with a mock image. I'll send it to them, and then they're going to come back to me with the revised version. Okay, so eventually we're going to get to the point where we have something that we're happy with. This is still not the final. This is still not the final cover for the book, but this is the importance here, making sure that you get your book cover in theme with what's selling on Amazon. And for me, this is a case of if it needs to take an extra week for me to get the book cover right, then I'll do that, okay? Because this is something that's going to be on Amazon for a very, very long time. And when it comes to creating a #1 new release, we've got to have that really punchy, awesome looking book cover that's in theme with what is already selling, okay? So we took a look at what was selling and we weren't quite there. Whoopsie. So we're not quite there. I don't think this is quite right with what the audience is responding to. So we've gone back again. We're making more changes to that book cover, and then hopefully within the next few days, we're going to have the final version of that book cover. So just slowing down a little bit, not rushing the book out there, and again, just making sure we give our books the best chance possible of becoming a #1 new release, and then making consistent sales through its lifetime. So for me, what I was hoping for was to get ranked. And again, this is why this case study that I'm doing for this book is so ambitious, because it could go so wrong. Whatever happens, we're going to learn something basically, because I don't know anyone that's been this ambitious to just show off a word search book for kids, like in such a broad niche. But whatever happens, we're going to learn something, and that's going to be documented in that case study. Okay, so what the ideal scenario is that we get ranked during this launch period of our books. We get ranked onto this first page. People can see that we have something different. Okay, so if you watch the last video, you know that I'm looking at hopefully standing out inside this marketplace by having these kind of shaped word searches. So what we want to happen is to get this book, and we want to really communicate that with the audience, that this book is different, it's fun, it's different. And when we get visibility onto this first page, hopefully people will see that, resonate with it, and buy it, okay? And then of course, hopefully become a #1 new release. So that would be fantastic. Again, it's a risk on me because the book hasn't been produced yet, but people saw the last case study, they saw how well that went. I made mistakes in that case study, which is great. It's been great for me, and it's a great learning process for me as well. So whatever I create in the next case study for the word search book is going to be a more refined version of that case study, okay? Because, no matter what anyone says, no one knows everything, right? But, I see an opportunity here. We're going to be releasing that book. We're going to be taking a look at it. We're going to do it all in the case study. And I'm nervous, I'm excited, but you know what? Like I say, we're going to learn something. So we're going to circle back around to, ranking your book in the different niches and getting ranked easier, increasing your chance of becoming a #1 bestseller in just a moment. But what I want to talk about are these AA and OA campaigns that we're running for marketing, basically, right? So the big factor here when it comes to creating a #1 new release or even a #1 bestseller is having a strong release period, okay? I've tested for so long, like so many times, so many different books, so many campaigns. I've tested so many things at this point. And what I've established is that in order to give your book the best chance possible in the long term, is that you need to have a strong launch for your book. And that comes down to getting advertising to your book. So one of the things that we touched upon in the last case study that I created, and again, I don't want to just make this about the case studies or the software, but let's take a look now at some of the, actually this is my overall ad spend. So I've spent $7,000 on ads, so I think I have an idea as to what's working and what isn't. I don't know why I have that on screen actually at the moment, but basically we were creating, and this is what I'm going to sort of talk about, the aggressive campaigns now and the optimizing campaigns as well. And I'm going to use one of my other books as an example in just a moment. So basically my refined approach now comes down to creating less advertising campaigns and working on a auto campaign, optimizing that, reducing the amount that we spend on that over time, but having this initial period where we are quite heavy with the ad campaigns on it, okay? So $98 on the US marketplace and £33 on the UK marketplace. It seems like quite a lot, and I agree, it is more than what I would typically spend when it comes to running ads for a book. And I'm going to talk about the UK marketplace in just a second, because I want to sort of touch upon an observation that I made a minute ago about ranking your book. But basically what we're doing when it comes to releasing a new book, and I'm going to show another book in a second, is that we want to have, what I do, I'm not saying that everyone has to do this to have success, but what I was doing was kind of releasing the book quite aggressively with the ad campaigns during the launch period, okay? So in order to get that #1 new release, I go quite aggressive with the ad campaigns to begin with. And then what I look at doing is just reducing. So you can see here on screen, we're reducing the cost per click and seeing how the clicks respond to that. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm selecting the click section and the cost per click section as well. So that's both reflected on the chart here. So what we want to do with our new releases is to release them quite aggressively, and then we're going to get to the point where we're optimizing our campaigns to the point where we're going to get a kind of crossover that we're going to be happy with. Okay, so what you'll see here is that as I'm reducing the spend, the cost per click bid, we're looking at sort of getting lesser clicks, obviously, but there's going to be this crossover point where we're going to be happy with the amount of clicks that we're getting. Okay, so we started this campaign at 87 cents quite aggressively, but what we're finishing at here is around 38 cents per click. Okay, so that's much better, but of course we're getting less clicks. But the beauty here is that since we've released the book quite aggressively during this launch period, is that we've got our book ranked. Okay, so that's the main thing. We wanted to get our book ranked. We became a #1 new release at that point, and then we're optimizing it. Okay, we're optimizing the campaigns, so we're not just spending tons and tons of money, because like I said in one of my last videos, is that people have a tendency to become very attached to their ad campaigns and just keep pumping money, more and more money. So we're spending quite a lot to begin with, but over the course of the month, now what I want to happen is that we're only spending around $10 to $15 per month on the campaign, but we're getting enough clicks still. We're getting enough clicks to keep making sales and keep our book topped up when it comes to the ads. Okay, so any sale that we can get, any additional sale outside of organic sales that we can get is going to be good for our books. Okay, so for example, if I just put in the orders here, and admittedly this isn't a great return, but this is the strategy that we're going for. Okay, so as you can see, the orders here, we had 5 clicks with 1 order for 39 cents. So doing things like this, I promise you, will help keep your book ranked on the first pages. Okay, so eventually we're going to get to the point where the ACoS for this book is no longer 121%, but hopefully around 30 to 40%, where we're sort of breaking even, losing a tiny bit of money. But those sales that we're getting over time with these optimized campaigns, they're still valuable for keeping our book ranked. And I do this for every book that I get onto the first page. I keep the ad campaigns going just so that it can help them. You know, any sale is great, but we don't want to be spending too much money on them. Okay, so I'm going to touch back upon reducing the ACoS and things like that in just a second, but I'm someone, if we just come over to my UK spend here for my How to Draw book, so this was the last case study that I did. If you're in the case study group, you would have seen what I'm doing with this at the moment. But basically, I decided that, so my observation, if I come over to the UK marketplace, and I wanted to test this to the point where it was pretty much solidified, right? So what I was doing, I was tracking my How to Draw book on the first page. Obviously, this isn't it. I was tracking it on the first page for the UK marketplace, and I left it for, I think, nearly 2 weeks. Okay, and I left it for 2 weeks without running any campaigns to them. Okay, and I was checking for the keyword. I was checking for the keyword on the UK marketplace to see if my book was getting ranked without having to run ad campaigns to it. Nowhere to be seen, nowhere at all, right? So what I did then was I decided to start running these ad campaigns in the UK marketplace, which is this one here, which we did start on the 1st of May. Okay, so again, we're releasing it at a quite expensive cost per click at 51p, right? And then let me just put the orders on screen now. Hopefully this is making sense here. So what we did was we found that we had 1 order on the 1st of May, and then we had 3 orders on the 2nd of May. Okay, so I continued to track this book on the first page of Amazon for the keyword I was going after. And then I think it was after 2 or 3 days of getting those sales, we got ranked on the first page for our selected term. Okay, so that's the importance of having that release period where you do run ad campaigns, you do get some sales. And I don't think that one became a #1 new release in the UK. I think it was too late for that to happen. But regardless, it got ranked on the first page. So the thing here, and this is going to be the problem for people that are going to try and get into really broad niches, is that you're going to have to spend more money to get your book ranked for a broader search term. Okay, so this is where the opportunity is presenting itself to niche down and get ranked without having to spend the type of money that I've been spending or will have to spend to get book ranked for this. Okay, so when it comes to something like a Christmas word search, so I'm going to use one of my books here as an example. We're actually still on the first page for Christmas word search for adults. So if we just scroll down, I think so we're still ranked here. Now, if I just go into my book very quickly, and I'll show you what I mean by this launch period. All right, so just to use my, I don't know what those are. So just to use the historic sales calculator here, what we can see is that I released the book here during this period quite aggressively. We got some really low, BSRs here around, I think under 20,000 at one point. And I think for this book to get ranked, it costs less. I think it was 20. I think we spent $20 originally to get the book ranked on the first page. But that was what it took to get the book ranked onto the first page. And it's still, as we saw a second ago, it's still just sat there. So the opportunity here when it comes to doing this without spending so much money comes down to niching down to a more specific audience. Now, I hate the term niching down. It sounds very internet markety, but it does make sense. Okay, so if you're doing word searches, for example, what you could look at doing is creating something seasonal, so Halloween word search or the Christmas word search or summer word searches. And you could look at implementing this strategy, the launch strategy, into these less competitive niches like a Halloween word search, for example. So if you were pairing something like this, a Halloween word search niche, with the launch strategy that I've been talking about, and pairing it possibly with something like being able to differentiate your book and create these kind of quirky things like this here, what you'd be able to do is to get ranked on the first page for this without having to spend as much money, in my opinion. And then obviously you're going to stand out because you're going to be the only person that has a kind of unique shaped word search or whatever you can do to differentiate your book. Okay, so when it comes to pairing all these factors together, I truly believe that people can create #1 new releases. Again, it's not the same as becoming a #1 bestseller, but it is an indication that you have done something right with the launch of your book. So if you were in the previous case study that I created for the How to Draw book that I uploaded onto Amazon, you would have seen that we went over pretty much all of this. But what we're doing for this next case study is, because it's slightly different and it's what I believe to be a more competitive niche, it's just going to be different and interesting. So I'm putting this kind of on the line, I guess, because this is a broad niche that I've not entered into before, and creating a case study around it as I'm implementing these strategies, it is a risk, but I'm super excited to do this. And people were so happy with the case study that I created for the How to Draw book that we're going to do it again for the word search book. So it's going to be similar. I'm going to have a video tomorrow on the 8th of May, pretty much outlining everything that I'm going to be putting into it. You're going to have to bear with me when it comes to this case study, because it will be like a week after the end of the shaped word search generator software is finished launching. So basically, this is being the case study. The new case study is being offered with anyone that buys any version of the shaped word search generator puzzle software through me. You can check that out from the description below, but that's going to be offered to anyone, like I say, that buys any version of the software. We're going to do the case study. We're going to do it live. We're going to take a look at getting the books ranked. We're going to do all these things that we did in the last case study, minus the outsourcing guide. Okay, that's not included. If it goes well, I will look at doing over-the-shoulder ad stuff again, which was a real-time suck, but I loved it. People were enjoying it in the Facebook group as well. So we'll look at doing that as well for a different niche. It's going to be super exciting. Like I say, I'm nervous, but we're all going to learn something from this. But what I think the likely scenario is going to be is that we're going to look at introducing into the new case study more sections on how to launch different campaigns for different marketplaces. So getting ranked on the US store, the UK store, and possibly the Canadian one. So that's something I've not really done before, but I'm going to document it in that case study, right? So it's going to be interesting. We're going to see where we can get those #1 new releases. Maybe a #1 bestseller. That's super ambitious, but that would be amazing. But of course, it could all fail. But that's the beauty of publishing, is that you don't know. But what we will be doing is implementing the #1 new release strategy into that word search, into that case study, so you can see everything that I'm doing pretty much as and when I do it with that book, okay? And also, if you wanted to check out a review of the shaped word search puzzle, whatever it's called, the names for these things are so long. I think it's shaped word puzzle generator, whatever it's called. The review for that software is in the description below. You can take a look at that if you are interested in creating these type of shaped word searches for your publishing business as well. I'm still creating mine at the moment, as you can see. But regardless, this has been the #1 number one new release sort of strategy that we go for here. And the thing is, like, people overcomplicate publishing so much. We're talking about keywords, niches, and all these different things that I think people kind of miss out on the fundamentals. And if you're in the case study, you know that what I do is pretty simple, but it makes sense, right? Amazon is a keyword, search-based keyword platform where you need to offer that keyword. You know, people are searching for that keyword. You put that out there to them. You get that keyword ranked. You get your book ranked. You go into a niche that's got traffic going to it. You create a great cover, and then you get visibility to your books, which my preference is to run advertising campaigns from Amazon. That's the number one new release strategy. Obviously, there are finer things that we can look at when it comes to, you know, making the optimal experience here for our books release, but that's the basics of it. So if there is enough interest in the case study, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but if there's enough interest in the case study, I might create another book and introduce that into the new case study as well as an additional bonus. So that's not a promise. I can't promise that at the moment, but I've been really interested in creating like a summer word search, and I'd love to do that with the shaped word search generator software as well. So that's something. Where has it gone? I really like the idea of creating these type of seasonal niches, especially with word searches. So if time lends to this opportunity, I think I would like to go ahead and create one of these. But if there's enough interest for me creating another type of book like this that is just exclusive for the case study group, let me know, because it's going to cost me a little bit of money to outsource some new images. I spend a fair bit on outsourcing images. That's just me. Where you get yours from is a different matter. How much you pay is a different matter. So obviously it's going to be a little bit of an investment, but you know, leave that in the comments below if you want to see that included alongside the word search case study. It's a big commitment, but I think it would be an incredible thing to offer as well. But yeah, just let me know. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video. So the software launch, where has it gone? I can't find it. So the release for this is due to end, I think, 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on the 8th of May. That is the only period in which I'm going to be offering my case study as well. So if you're interested, that is the cutoff point. And of course, with the software itself, the prices will go back up. Like I say, there's a review in the description. I didn't want to make it all about this software in this video today, but that's what's going on tomorrow. During the launch end, basically, I'm going to have another video out that is going to outline everything that's going to go into the case study, and also to take suggestions for what can go into the case study as well. Okay, because like I say, I'm still creating the book, and you'll have to wait like a week before it goes live, before you can start witnessing the case study material. But I'm open to suggestions for things that I'm going to include. But tomorrow's video, I will go over what I'm pretty much definitely going to include inside of that, which is mainly going to be about ranking your books, getting visibility, etc, etc. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure that you're there. It's the last video when it comes to the case study and the software. All questions will be answered, and I'll see you there.